Hi everyone, this is Frank Rotz. Welcome back to the channel. As the thumbnail suggests, this is a soft stick bait review. This is going to be the 3 baits that I fish when bass are active between 5 and 12 feet. In most of your lakes, especially your trophic lakes, that's going to be when bass are the most active at those depths. So I'm going to omit the Senko. I'll admit that because it's talked about in prior videos. So many people talk about it, even though I could put a different spin on it. I'll do a little different one for this video. So this is a waveworm bamboo stick, and that's the front of it, that's the tail. It's got this fat midsection, but it's kind of fatter towards the front. I wacky rig that thing down the middle, and it's great because if there's wind, if I need distance, and if I need to get down to 15-20 feet deep, it gets there readily. But yet this bait drags. It's got a lot of ridges in it for its length, and if you drag it through 5 feet of water, it fishes great. It's not my #1 choice for 5 feet of water, but if it's windy and I'm getting resistance from the wind, I can maintain that bottom contact. It's a sleeper bait. Not a lot of people know about the company. They don't make that many baits anymore. They focus on a few, and this is an awesome one. Definitely in Northwest Indiana, one of my favorites. A big bass up here, which is going to be about 20 years old, is going to be about 20-22 inches. I've never caught a bass smaller than 18 inches on that. Super fun bait. If anybody would ever fish them for smallmouth, I'd love to hear smallmouth feedback on them. I'm sure that they would work just as well for smallmouth. So definitely a pick, waveworm bamboo. #2, this is called a Venko, which is an ultraviolet version. They're kind of calling it their Senko, but it has different properties. It's very much the same properties as the Yumdinger. So this bait's going to weigh about a ½ ounce, right? These two are going to weigh 3/8 of an ounce. The Venko is an ultraviolet bait. Now largemouth bass can't see ultraviolet, but for some reason when I wear this with polarized glasses on, it has a different look to it than a different discontinued manufacturers who has that same craw type bait. That's a craw swirl. So that's my #1 color for that. I've never fished this color. The color that I usually fish is discontinued. So I'm not really going to get into color. I'm just going to talk about the fundamentals for the most part. Review the color a little bit because I feel like the fundamentals are what's most important. Again, 5 to 12 feet. If you're going to go deeper, you're going to have to wacky rig it down the middle. I fish all these down the middle. Sometimes I used to start there and kind of work my way in. You can Texas rig these if you were underhand casting with some weight up front. Would probably be ideal if you were going to Texas rig underhand cast, that type of a thing. More so around wood. But that's a great one, and it's got a very unique scent. It smells like a concentrated anise, but it's not. I'm not big on scent. I don't think that scent definitely doesn't hurt my catch percentages. I have a really high catch percentage with this. Everything from 12 to 22 inches. And what's kind of unique about that color is when smaller bass hit it, they kind of crunch on it like they're crunching a craw. And they don't do that with other colors like this watermelon red fleck. So Ultra Tightlines UV, definitely one of my, I always have one rigged up 5 to 12 feet. Excellent bait. So the third one down is a Yumdinger, probably the most familiar bait, I would guess, throughout the country. Super popular bait in Chicago area, Midwest, I'm assuming all over the country. Reason being, this bait also has a proprietary scent to them, which is a really good one. Definitely don't think it hurts, but this watermelon red fleck is just a great color. I remember when I was selling tackle, I met a woman who had a son who was younger, and he never caught a bass before, and I recommended this bait. It may have been a 4-inch, but it was this bait, that color, and he caught one that was about 17-18 inches. So you know, she was happy that her son was able to get that. Just wacky rigged it, small hook down the middle, like I recommend for everybody. And that kind of is a little bit of a micro story about why I recommend these baits. I've sold baits to thousands of anglers. Everybody likes the learning curve on these. They're simple. It's one of those things. Just don't overthink it. A bass is not overreacting. Bass doesn't think. It's going to just respond to the conditions that are given to them. And the great thing about this family of baits, soft stick baits, is when you rig them with a small hook down the middle, they're the most snag free. So if you grew up fishing back in the day and you saw all kinds of baits that said weedless, snagless, and they hung up, these were like a dream come true. They're standard fare now for large and smallmouth bass. So just to kind of encapsulate everything that I said, waveworm bamboo, great for casting in the wind, bottom contact deeper when necessary, UV Venko, craw color, numbers of bass, and big size too, one of my favorites on the market still, and Yumdinger in the watermelon red fleck. If you haven't tried any of these in your arsenal, I would definitely consider adding them. I've had great success with them. They've been super fun to fish, and it doesn't matter if you like braided casting gear or copolymer mono spinning, they're going to fish pretty much equally as well. That's all I've got. Definitely wanted to get a video out there. I'll probably talk more about soft stick baits in the future. I'm sure I will. I could probably talk for 2 or 3 hours to a relatively knowledgeable angler about them. It's been a while since I've talked to somebody about them. So if you could you give me a thumbs up? Could you give me a like? Some positive feedback on these baits. I actually caught up and have been responding to some past comments I haven't kept up with. So in a nutshell, I'm working my way up in the business still. You got to work during fishing time. That is what it is. That's the nature of it. It kind of weeds out a lot of people. But I'm still hanging in there. And take care, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. Much appreciated. And happy fishing. Tight lines.